We are social creatures, and never forget that. Several times in my life, I have felt that I didn't need other people to exist sufficiently, and this is always me tricking myself. It's always a sort of game to avoid my real understanding of myself and my human nature. And it comes from points of being disappointed by people, because I care about people so much. I love hearing people's stories, understanding the ways in which they have experienced life to make them who they are. But a lot of times I get disappointed by people in that they don't take life very seriously or think too deep about themselves and about others. But anyways, I'm making this video because just as a sort of vlog about recent events in my life, and it's coming from a place where a few times recently over the past week I've had some social interactions where I felt known and understood by people I don't know very well, even just by sort of little things like my friend was writing me. I was riding on the back of his motorcycle, and he pointed to a clothing shop in the main part of the city, and he just like said something about that I would shop there, or because it had like sort of like abstract sort of patchwork or interesting fabric, something maybe like this that I would wear. And then another time recently, because I'm now living in Thailand, I got the visa to go to classes here through a Thai language school, and I had classes for the first time yesterday, and I as well will have a class tomorrow, if I can wake up in time, that is. Doesn't seem to be a big deal if I show up every time, but I would like to go because I realize, even though I have a lot of gripes about the way it's taught, I'm pretty pretentious or opinionated about language education, as I've spent many hours, or just a large part of my adult life since the age of 21, spending time learning languages and realizing what has worked and what has failed, and also seeing that the way languages are taught around the world, I think, is largely ineffective and actually will deter students from getting very far in the language by thinking they just don't get it or just can't do it. But it's really just the way we've been conditioned to understand how language learning works. But anyways, that's a discussion for a different time. I was just saying that so this guy I was sitting next to, so we were talking, and we were saying where we were from, and he said he's from Latvia, which is interesting to me because of my association with the Baltics, speaking the Baltic Prussian revived language, and also a bit of Lithuanian, and having a lot of ties there, a lot of people I know through the revival community that live there, and also me wanting to live there one day as well, if I'm able to. And yeah, and so I told him about my language studies of Baltic languages and asked him about Latvian and sort of stuff like that. And then as well, you know, like in the class, it seemed like I was already pretty far ahead of everyone. Like, it was just teaching like basic self-introduction stuff, and it wasn't even teaching with the Thai writing system yet. And it seemed like I was ahead of a lot of people there, and people, like other students, had like asked how long I had been in Thailand, and like thinking I had been here a few years when it's only been a few months, which to me seems very strange, because I haven't, like, I probably only spend like 5 hours a week at most with diligent study of Thai. Like, I'm still spending most of my time learning Japanese, and I even like like when I started learning Japanese back a year ago in August, I had plans so I've been traveling this entire year, and I started traveling in January, and I started in Japan, and I had like this idea like to just like speed run Japanese and learn as much as I possibly could in a very short amount of time. So when I got to Japan, I could have like actual like in-depth interactions with people and like converse with them well. And it was a pretty outlandish goal, but I have progressed a lot in Japanese, and like when I would talk to people, they thought I lived there, and when I told them I was a tourist just traveling for 3 months, they were like, what the heck? And there was even this one time like where I was sitting down at a cafe in this pottery town when I was doing a workaway in Nagoya, and doing like a day trip an hour south in this pottery town. I unfortunately forget the name of it now, but I came in and ordered a coffee and then was just sitting by myself, and then this couple came in and I started talking to them, and it was like the typical questions: oh, where are you from, what are you doing, oh, you're just traveling by yourself, and la-di-da. And then I was just like speaking Japanese with them the whole time, and then he offered to he was asking if I was getting food, and then offered to get me some curry and rice, and then paid for that and my coffee as well, because he was impressed by me. And then he asked how long I had been studying Japanese, and I said 6 months, and he was just like, it was like the Shaman NYC moment, the what's this? Yeah, it was like, he said that many Japanese people spend years learning English and wouldn't get to the level that I had and all that. And it's like, thank you, no, I'm not that good, and blah, 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 trying to act that Japanese, like, no, I'm not very good yet, but also just for myself, like, people who learn a lot of languages typically have a huge ego, because it's the one thing that you learn where everyone's just like, oh, you're so good, you're so special, you're so smart, you can understand this. But it's like, you spend the same amount of time learning something like math or physics, like nobody can really relate to that, but languages people can relate to, so it's much easier to understand and appreciate other people's efforts for it. Anyways, but to get back to my point, I was like really cramming, like just spending like 10 hours a day learning Japanese, or even shooting for more than that a lot of the time, and just constantly like having it in my headphones all day when I was walking anywhere, just trying to get like cram as much immersion inputs into my day as humanly possible, when I was really going hard at it, and still am to a fair extent. And with Thai, now I'm living in Thailand, I had a thought, it's like, I just want to learn this language at a normal pace, like not go for the super like wow kind of reactions you'll get from people when you say you've just been learning that short time. Like, I just wanted to take it at an easy pace, like not go inhumanly over the top with it, I should say. But even with like just 5 hours a week, it seems like I'm far ahead of most people here already, which is kind of disappointing to me. Disappointing both on the failures of language education, or how it's advertised or promoted or indoctrinated into us as humans, how we actually learn language, not through comprehensible input methods like we're a child, but just picking things up as we go about our lives naturally from inputs. But like, we're doing this rigorous school thing where we have a textbook and we do grammar drills and that sort of things, which is very effective, and it makes the process of learning a language seem like a dull task, and only really motivated and smart people can do it. Although the motivation is correct, motivation is important, but motivation also comes from positive reinforcement, not feeling anxious for not getting it, and those sorts of things, which I guess I'm going into this topic a bit more than I intended. But what I wanted to say was that, like, So I'd already been outed as a polyglot pretty much, and then later on there was a Japanese guy who I wasn't really getting much of the interaction, but it seemed that he didn't speak English too well, and he was trying to translate onto his phone, and like the teacher asked, does anyone here speak Japanese? And then I was the only one who raised my hand, and then she was just like, well, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to talk to this guy, so I just said like something in Japanese, like if you have problems, I can speak a bit of Japanese and help you out. And he just said like, arigatou gozaimasu, and like it seemed like we were both pretty nervous. Like any time where you have to speak a language you're learning, I feel like it really ups your anxiety, really makes the face red, really sparks the nerves, and makes it hard to get out your thoughts clearly in it. And especially when I was like talking about Lithuanian and Prussian and speaking a bit of it to this Latvian guy, and then speaking Thai in the class, and then trying to speak Japanese. Yeah, I was like my face was red, my heart was beating, heart rate fast. All those things that make it hard to think clearly. The amygdala was probably giving off some fight or flight kind of shit, but yeah, and then so I was talking to the Latvian guy. Back to the main point of we are social creatures, and it's nice to get positive reinforcement about people understanding you. And so I was mentioning to this guy that I haven't had to get up at a certain time in a while, and so I'm a bit tired because I was up all last night. And then he just made this little comment, so you stayed up all night learning languages, I'm sure. And I was like, yep. And yeah, just having that little positive reinforcement of feeling like your person is being understood by another, I think it's a real human need, and it's why I'm looking forward to going to this class again, if only for that, and would like to try and push myself to do more things like that. But also, like, it's difficult for me because I'm very sensitive and very when people say things to me, like a lot of things I remember that in this year of traveling I've interacted with people, and I remember like every single interaction I've had with somebody, especially if they say something I don't really like, it will probably stick with me for years. And I don't think most people, like, I'm sure like it's a human feeling, it's a human sensitivity to some extent, but I think a lot of people have more of a capacity to sort of shrug things off or not latch on to them like that. And it's like, if I, like, a lot of people like go to socialize to try and like let off steam or enjoy themselves, and for me it's always this like really anxiety inducing thing. And then for the rest of the night I'll usually only continue to think about what I said or what other people said, or just like reflecting on the interactions. Most of the time in my life it's been sort of negative and self-critical. I'm trying to get better at that, and I am making progress in that respect. But back to the point of we are social creatures and the importance of human connection. Doing something like making this video is an example of that. I think about the YouTuber and blogger No Thank You, and how he's very like anti going outside for his himself and his personal life, and thinks very negatively about like having friends in the real world, and just wants to be very, very introverted. But even with him, what he does in like making these creations to send onto the internet to convey his thoughts about things, and it's a way of connecting with people in a way that is suitable for him and his needs of human connection, but a way to connect with people nonetheless. And I think even for introverted people, we're always consuming the creations of other people as well. Whether we're spending all of our time reading books or watching YouTube videos, we're still getting input from humans. But what's crucial here is like being able to output in humans and have it be inputs in the other, that is another human, and have it be received in a way of understanding some part of you with positive reinforcement of it. And I think that's something critical to all of us, and something we shouldn't kid ourselves that is unimportant, because whenever I do kid myself that it's unimportant, I tend to feel really negatively in a general sense.